This video today is not going to be as long as most of mine, because really the point for the video is to say, really, to those who are watching and keeping track of what's happening in South Carolina, whatever the state decides as far as taking the flag down, I guarantee all of you watching this that it will not stop there. The black community has acquired an advantage even above and beyond affirmative action against the general population. And what I'm trying to imply in saying that is that whenever something now comes up that the community of black African Americans in this country don't like, there isn't any longer a discussion made by the public. It simply just stops as far as they have had a viewpoint for a very long time in this country that symbols that represent hate have always been acceptable to the African American as being a tolerable fact. And now something has changed that makes it not only wrong in the public eye, but that every kind of an agency, whether it be government or private sector in companies, are instantaneously taking a reactive response to this by saying, we're not going to allow it to happen anymore because we're going to stop it from existing. This means, for example, the Confederate flag. They're stopping manufacturers from making products that have to do with this, to the point that they're saying to the public, if you want this object, if you want this design on your car, if you want it on a flagpole in your own home, we're not going to allow you to have it anymore. And it's a subjection or a subjugation on the general public to accept what even the gays and the homosexuals have been now allowed to do under the law, which is to dictate to people how they live their lives. It's no longer your choice to say whether it's right or it's not right in your own mind. It's this subjugation attitude by the government and by somebody higher even than Obama himself, who is now subjugating the United States public to a understanding philosophy that what you think and what you believe, if it doesn't conform to the mentality of a black person, an African American, that it's wrong now. And it's even going beyond your civil rights to say, I don't agree with that. It's to the level of saying that your opinions are considered a hate crime, even if you haven't physically done anything to somebody else. This man, Hood, who shot down 8 people in a church, has been used as a catalyst to incite an attitude now that whatever a person believes or thinks is wrong, and that it's to the level in our government to say that we're not going to allow you anymore the right to think the way you think or to have what you have, because they aren't going to tolerate it. And that's why people see on the news and see things happening in our society that it's like you have just killed somebody to think the way you think, or to do an action which isn't hurting anybody else, but society says the opposite. You have hurt somebody else, so therefore we're going to retaliate and we're going to get rid of these things that you don't have any rights to anymore. This hat, for example, this is our state flag from 1956 until 1996. In very short order, Roy Barnes took the flag down without allowing the American public, as far as the citizens of Georgia, to vote and say, we don't want that to happen. He did it, and I can remember so well One day it was up on our state capitol. The next day Roy Barnes had it removed. He didn't ask the general public of Georgia, do you want me to do this? He didn't put it on a voting ballot to say, we want your opinion whether you think that the state flag should be changed. He did it. He changed it without even asking the residents and the citizens of Georgia whether they wanted it to happen. And then over the years the media has said, well, he brought it up before the legislature. No, he didn't. He just changed it of his own authority as the governor of Georgia to do that without asking the citizens of Georgia, do you want this flag taken down or not? When a vote was finally offered, it was Nathan Deal who brought it, although really it was Sonny Perdue who brought up the subject of the state flag, but he did not give the Georgia citizen the option of all choices that people wanted to vote on. This flag, the Confederate battle flag, was not on the ballot. He offered you two choices: the flag that was actually flying over Georgia before the Confederate battle flag, or Roy Barnes' pathetic excuse of a flag design which had the state seal in the center and a caption of all the flags representing Georgia over the past 100 years. And I can remember also on this flag he had the audacity to put an American flag up there too, because he didn't want to say, I'm trying to offend one group over another, we'll just make all the flags and represent it on this state flag. And that's what he commissioned that the state flag should look like. Never asked the citizens of Georgia, do y'all like this design? Do you want us to have this up there or not? No, he just did it. He just put it up there. Then when Sonny Perdue was elected, he gave only those selections and choices of state flags that the blacks wanted, because I remember Van Epps was the primary senator of Georgia who decided this is what we're putting on the ballot because it represents what the African American viewpoint is of Georgia, and this is what we want. But they didn't give the Confederate battle flag any opportunity to be voted on. In Mississippi, and I have to tip my hat to Mississippi, because they did. They allowed their state residents to decide what flag they wanted to fly over their state capital. Not in Georgia. Georgia only had the choice to decide what the black community wanted to be on that ballot. That's what they voted on. So Georgia never had the opportunity. Whites and blacks never had the chance or the choice to decide on all of the state flags that flew over Georgia. And this was back in 1998, 1999, long before all of this stuff happened about hatred over what flag that the blacks find offensive or whatever. The main reason for my video, besides to say that we all have the right to show our own expression of what we believe in, is to say, if a black person does not like the Confederate battle flag and you don't want it flying, then the same should be true of every other flag that represents even what blacks like, whatever an American likes, and that includes the American flag itself should be taken down. African American pride in the African flag should be taken down. The rainbow flag representing gay rights should be taken down, because this way, if you're saying we don't want to offend anybody, then take them all down. Take them all down, and then you don't offend anybody. The American flag should be taken down because the Muslims hate the United States, because they consider us infidels. Why? Because we represented freedom at one time. We do not represent freedom anymore, because now our rights to say what we want to say, to believe what we want to believe, everything is now under attack by somebody higher. It could be Obama, it could be somebody else, and they're saying your right to expression is only if, in this case, one race says it's okay. Blacks. If blacks say it's okay with us for you to have this, then they allow it. They tolerate it. Otherwise, they're now saying you're not permitted that right, that freedom to say, I like this flag, I like that flag, because it offends somebody else. You know what? I don't like the rainbow flag because it offends me. But are they going to say, well, we don't want to print that, we don't want to manufacture that because it's going to offend me or it's going to offend a lot of other American citizens? No. They allow them to do that. They allow gays to fly their flag wherever they want. They allow the Mexican flag to fly in homes where most times they're not even American citizens. They're putting down Donald Trump, who absolutely has it together because he's saying exactly what's going on. Obama has allowed Mexicans now full free rights to come across our border, and they're not stopped by the Border Patrol for one reason. Why? He wants votes. He wants Democrats to rule the party, and it doesn't matter anymore what people think about. Aren't we supposed to be upholding the law of the country, which is if you're an illegal alien, you're not supposed to be allowed in this country unless you go through due process? There is no due process anymore. There is no law anymore because they're not upholding it. They're not standing by what it's all about. Free, liberty, and rights are all a part of a piece of very old, very dried out paper that's in the Smithsonian. It's called the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution has a preamble. It has a Bill of Rights. It has everything that represents law in the United States, and it has been shredded. It has been destroyed for one reason. Socialism is another word for communism. Communism is what Russia has to this day. It is what Cuba has to this day. And Obama turns his back. He says, oh well, so you have all that stuff. It doesn't bother me. We can still be friends. John F. Kennedy in 1962 was in a situation where Cuba was importing missiles to destroy the United States. Instead of him nuking Cuba, which he should have done by law when they passed a certain parallel in the ocean, he said, I'm not going to do it. He said to Nikita Khrushchev, if you turn those missiles and those boats around, we'll end this standoff of a nuclear confrontation with each other. And that's exactly what happened. But the ties with Cuba, with Russia, never stopped. And it hasn't since that day, 50 years later. Now Obama comes on television not more than 5 or 6 months ago and says this to the American people. We're going to forget all that happened. Even though you're no different than you were 50 years ago, you're still communistic. Oh, by the way, behind the scenes, I'm socialistic myself as an American president. So because of that philosophy and that tie-in that I have with communism, you guys now can be our friends because we're the same thing. So it comes now down to what this video was made for. Your freedom, my freedom is under attack, and it's because somebody somewhere high up in government wants to destroy anything left of tolerance and respect. Blacks only want what they want. Our society says that everything and anything that has always been normal, straight, is now illegal. And all you got to do is see what's happening in society. One thing I have noticed, and I'm sure you have too, is that the riots have stopped across the United States. Blacks are not in the streets anymore rioting. You know why? Whoever is behind all of this incitement against things that have always been revered by whites are under attack now. And that means whoever stopped the riots is saying to the black community, you ain't got to worry anymore. I'm in control of this. I'm gonna handle all of these things. We're gonna turn it against whites. We're gonna turn it against them. Then we have a massive onslaught against each other. And what is the outcome? What is the scenario outcome of this? War. Racial war. Enough people can just become so outraged and upset. You're going to have another civil war in the United States. You laugh it off, you say it ain't going to happen. Folks, if it can happen once, it can happen again. And the more you turn it off and the more you only accept what you want to accept, It is never going to change, and it'll get worse. Thank you.